Hello, how's it going? This video here, I just wanted to talk through a few things that I have learnt through becoming a dad. Now, I'm a pretty new dad. Sonny is barely 8 weeks old, so still very young, and I'm constantly learning many things. But I just wanted to summarise some of the things that I've learnt so far, and I hope that somebody watching this might learn something and might be helped in what I have to say. So here it is. This is what I've learned 8 weeks into being a dad. So first thing is, it is hard. It is honestly very hard. After having Sonny, it's funny because I keep hearing from other people about fatherhood being the toughest thing in the world and being the greatest challenge they've ever faced, and I'm starting to feel that already 8 weeks in. Honestly, it is hard work, and I can already see that, I've got a baby, and babies are easy in comparison to teenage years, I'm sure, and some difficult times that you might have to go through in parenting. But already it's hard work, and it's funny because it's something that you never get told beforehand. You never get told that being a dad is hard, and then as soon as you kind of become a dad, it's like, being a dad is hard. So that's thing number one. It is hard, but for all the hard things, it is worth it. The amazing moments that you have are all totally worth it for that hard work, and definitely worth investing in, for sure. Every expectation I had in going into it has been wrong. So my expectations of being a dad, of fatherhood, are completely not matching up with what I thought going into it. So until you are in it, you can not fully understand what it's going to be like, and no amount of preparation can sort of really prepare you for what you're about to face, because being a dad, the challenges are different for everybody. The things that you have to overcome to change in yourself, to realize they're going to be different for everyone, and people have different upbringings, different ideas of what makes a good dad. Their parents growing up might have had different experiences with them, and the people around you, that might be impacting what your expectations are going into being a dad. But already I'm finding that my expectations are being changed, being challenged constantly. So I would encourage you, if you're about to become a dad, just really think about what it is that you're expecting, and be prepared for those expectations to be challenged and to be changed constantly. For example, how much sleep you get, nappy changes, settling and feeding. So that was an expectation that I had would be a difficult thing, that I thought being a dad would be a hard transition, and it certainly is. But those things aren't necessarily the things you need to be worried about, because changing a nappy, once you've done it a couple of times, it becomes easy. Yes, it's kind of gross seeing, baby poo, baby wee, but it's something you get used to pretty quickly. Same thing with sleep. That can be really challenging, but I suppose in a sense you get used to, you kind of get into mini routines of not sleeping, and you work out ways to be able to catch up on sleep at various times. And settling, he's your baby, so that, for me, that was something that actually I felt quite natural at, which was really surprising to me, because when you have someone else's baby, it's like you you've got this tiny little thing and you don't want to hurt it, you don't want to do anything that'll risk anything happening to this baby. And don't get me wrong, it's the same with your own baby, but it's slightly different. I don't know, for me anyway, I felt a little bit more comfortable. I thought, well, okay, I am able to change the way I hold him if he's feeling a little bit unsettled. I can, pat him on the back and turn him, I was going to say upside down, definitely not upside down, but turn him on his side, on his tummy, those sorts of things, which when it's not your own child, you're not necessarily comfortable in doing that. But for me, in becoming dad, that side of things was a lot easier than what I expected. I'm sure I'll be challenged in that again, and my expectations will change, and I'll be like, well, what happened here? So yeah, there's that one. I think the biggest thing for me that I'm struggling with is the emotional side of things and the emotional expectations. It is, again, being a dad is amazing. Seeing your baby, holding your baby and bonding with them is amazing. And you just have these moments which you think, wow, this really is a blessing. But it's also incredibly draining. When your baby is crying, when you've had a lack of sleep, when something unhelpful has been unsaid by either you or your partner, combination of all those things together, it can just really set your emotions off. And one thing I've had to really be careful of is to keep those in check. So yeah, it's really important to just understand how your emotions are being impacted and how you can manage those. And then, also some other unhelpful expectations going into it. Sort of, I guess I was a little bit in denial going into being a dad, that I had these expectations that things would almost basically be the same, but I would have a baby, I thought that, maybe after a little while, things would be difficult at first, but then I could start doing exercise again regularly, start, doing the hobbies that I like to do, but actually fitting in those things is really difficult. And even just finding 10 minutes in a day to kind of go for a jog or things like that becomes actually quite hard. And so that's an expectation that I've had to wrestle with, like this thing of, well, actually, no, life is not slightly different. It's not the same, but with a baby is actually, life is completely turned on its head. Is anything that you were used to before, you have to rethink everything. So, but I'll talk about it in a little bit. It's also can be an encouraging thing, and it has been for me as well. So number 3 is motivations and aspirations. So one really great thing that I heard and came across is aspire to be the best you can be at being a good dad and husband. And I think that is really good advice, because our aspirations and our goals and priorities can be misplaced. You can't get this time back that you have, so you have to invest on what is important. A lot of people keep saying to me that you've really got to just really stay in the moment and really just enjoy the time when your baby is small, because you never get it back, and the baby grows up so quickly. So if you're worried about all these other things that you're trying to still work to the same capacity that you're working at, or you're still trying to do all these hobbies on the side, and by doing that you're taking away from this, your focus is not in the right spot, it's elsewhere, aside from focusing on this baby that you have. And I think it's really important that you do have to redirect your focus and your aspirations and motivations. Go, well, actually, right, this is my job. My number one priority right now is focusing on our baby, focusing on our family and investing into that. So yeah, and to follow on that, our priorities, and a couple of people have told me this over time, but it's only really kind of sinking in now, and I've been in denial about it a long time, but now I'm really focusing on it, and our priorities should take this order. It should be number one, our priority is God, always. Number two, our second priority is, then it goes, our family, our kids. Number three, our third priority is work. And our fourth priority is everything else. So it's kind of, you've got to have your priorities right and be investing into the right areas of your life, because another thing, a great quote I heard from Craig Groeschel in one of his sermons is, every decision that we make determines what we are going to be in the future. So all of the small decisions now, these things matter. They matter so much more than we realise, that they are going to shape who we become in the future. They are going to shape how our family, how our family becomes and what they are like. So it may sound a bit scary, but that's because it is such a big responsibility. And sometimes I feel the weight of that responsibility, this idea that every decision we make matters. It matters so much and impacts all the people around us. But also it's an amazing opportunity. It's an amazing opportunity to go, well, actually, maybe before my priorities weren't in the right place. But now I have this opportunity to really invest in the things that matter most, and I'm going to reap the rewards for it later. So I briefly spoke about it in my last video, but my priorities going into this were wrong. I didn't actually recently I had quite a big struggle. It was a work thing, and basically I was in a position right now where Verity really needed me home, and but by doing so I had to request leave off work, and it was all a bit messy because I was a bit disorganized. I hadn't planned things well, but it was really important that I took this time off work, and the whole situation was causing a lot of anxiety for me, because there was this stress. On the one hand, I didn't want to let work down, and also I knew that given the way I had organised things previously, I was worried that they weren't going to take it too well, and they were going to be frustrated with me. And on the other side, there was this frustration from Verity, because here she was going, Brenton, I need you home. I need a bit of help here. And this leave I was entitled to, it's given to us. And she then said to me, when you weren't taking this leave, it made me feel like that you weren't actually hearing me. You weren't hearing how much I needed you, and it was like that wasn't actually sinking in. So that was a really hard thing for me, and basically I dragged it out over a long time, and made it even more difficult than it needed to be, and caused more problems than I needed to cause. But eventually, in the end, I did bite the bullet, and I explained everything that was going on to the place I work at, and organised for this couple of weeks off. And it was like a big weight. It was lifted off my shoulders, and thankfully work was really good about it, and understanding. And I needn't have feared so much about their response, because they were really understanding about it, and provided time off that I needed, because they understood that how important family is, and at times, yes, I was putting them out a little bit by taking time off, but sometimes family has to come first, and that's sort of what I was talking about before. It goes God, then family, work, everything else. So that was a hard lesson that I had to learn, because, you know, I realized I wasn't standing up for Verity, and I wasn't providing her with that trust, that feeling that she could really, that she could fall on me, she could trust me for security in a time of need. So that, that is a lesson that I learned through all of that, and that came from my motivations, my aspirations, and my priorities. I was more worried about, more worried about my work and how they would react than how Verity was going and what she was telling me. And number 4 is looking after the gardens. I heard this in a Focus on the Family video interview. I can't remember the person's name, it's a bit bad. I kind of basically just listened to a whole lot all in one go. Because as you can probably tell, I need as much help as I can get as well. I'm not by any means perfect at this, and nobody is. But this concept of looking after the gardens, and it came from the concept that God put us on this earth. He created Adam and Eve, and his job initially for Adam was to look after the gardens. It is your job to tend to the animals, to tend to looking after the land. And then when Eve was introduced, God said, it's your job to look after her. She is part of this world that you live in. She is part of your life. You need to tend to her and look after her needs. So it's the same with our partner, spouse. Being a man is not about owning a truck or playing sport or throwing axes or all those manly things. It's about being a caretaker for all the things that we've been given to and tasked to do by God. And just when I heard all of that, I just thought, wow, yeah, that's actually a really good way of looking at it, because or to even just another story, I am not good at all with handiwork. I'm terrible at making things, building things, fixing things. I mean, I feel like I could probably learn those skills over time with practice, but as of now, I just have no experience, so I don't know how to do any of those things. So, if I need help, I get my dad or dad-in-law to help out. So, and at times that's made me feel really down. I've thought, well, what does that make me? I'm not going to be a good husband if I can't do these things. But that's not true. Those things aren't what make us a good man and a good dad. It's about looking after and being a caretaker of the gardens, being a caretaker of all the things that we've been given, and that can look different in many different ways, and all of us are different. But yeah, I just thought that was a powerful thought about tending and looking after our gardens.